This is the Pooja and Gurdeep podcast.
From 98.1 CHFI Studios in Toronto, Canada.
Hey Toronto, this is Ed Sheeran.
This is Kelly Clarkson.
Hi, this is Bryan Adams.
This is Adele.
This is Madonna.
It's Michael Bublé, and you're listening to the Pooja and Gurdeep Show. It's fun. They're amazing.
Do you think birth order matters? And, you know, I'm looking at middle children here because people always talk about middle child syndrome.
Yeah, what is that?
So the way it's described is that you're not the oldest, you're not the youngest, so you kind of get less attention from your parents. You feel caught in the middle. Remember Malcolm in the Middle? The whole show was devised around him being the middle child.
Okay.
So like the firstborn's your firstborn, right? So they're independent.
I get. There's so much hoopla and pomp and circumstance around the firstborn.
Yes, and then the youngest is kind of spoiled. That's at least what the stereotype or the reputation is of birth order. Do you believe in it though?
I believe in the first child thing.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily know about I think the younger child has it a little bit easier in that, like, walls are knocked down for them. Like, I'll give you an example. Like, I'm the younger child. I have an older brother. He got like his eyebrow pierced, his ears pierced, and like my mom was really upset about it. Like, he heard it from her. And then 2 years later, I showed up at home with my ear pierced and my cartilage pierced. My mom just looked at me and goes, yeah. Figured that was coming.
That kind of paved the way for you.
Little things like that. I'm like, okay, I did get it easier in some respects because of that.
Okay, so there's a study. It is a Canadian study out of Brock University, and they studied children who were, older siblings, younger siblings, middle children, and they found from this survey that middle children wound up more honest, more humble, and agreeable than their siblings.
Okay, I like this rebranding or reframing of middle. Tell me that again. Middle children end up more honest,
humble, and agreeable than their siblings. And they, once they did this survey, they found out that they forgive the wrongs that they suffered. They were lenient when it came to judging others. They were willing to compromise and cooperate with others. And maybe this has something to do with being the middle child. They could easily control their temper. This compared to their counterparts of older and younger siblings.
It's interesting. So I have 3 nephews. My brother's got 3 kids, 3 boys, and Julian is the middle one. So I'm going to keep an eye on this and see how this plays out. But I mean, if you think about it, the middle child is the only one that's a younger sibling and an older sibling.
True.
So they maybe have a bit of a unique perspective, a little more understanding.
A little more balance of all of these sort of personality traits, maybe.
Yeah.
So if you're worried about the middle child, according to this latest study, and this is the latest one, they're going to be fine. In fact, they're probably better off than your other children.
This is the well overdue rebranding that middle children needed. I am here for this.
Okay, so do you think birth order matters? Or even after I tell you the results of this study, is this all just overblown and like none of it is really, it's inconsequential?
Okay.
It doesn't actually result in anything per se.
Okay, so according to this Canadian study, again, middle children wind up more honest, humble, and agreeable than their siblings. We want to hear from you. You tell us, maybe you're a middle child who's grown up now. Do you think this is true for you? Do you think it's hooey? Maybe you've got a few children and you've got a thought on this. Give us a call. The lines are open.
From CHFI Studios,
It's the Pooja and Gurdeep podcast.
Do you think birth order matters, or is that whole idea of the middle child overblown? We ask you this because there's a new study out that says middle children actually wind up to grow up being more honest, humble, and agreeable than their siblings. I feel like this is the rebranding that middle children need because
Up until now, it's always been like, poor middle child. Yeah, because, the oldest was the firstborn. So, they got everything, all the attention. And then the youngest is spoiled. They're the ones who get everything because all they have to do is ask. And the older one already paved the way for the youngest one. But what happens to the middle one? They get no attention.
Right. And in fairness, none of us here in this room had middle children in our family. We're all one of 2, right?
No, my brother. I have a middle child. My brother.
Oh, sorry.
I'm the youngest.
You only had one sibling. You have 2.
I have so there's 3 of us. My sister's the oldest, my brother's the middle, and then it's me. But they're so much older than me that I feel like I grew up like an only child because my sister's 10 years older, my brother's 6 years older. So we didn't, me and my brother hung out more.
Big gaps.
But the other thing too is he was the only boy in an Italian family. So middle child for him doesn't count because he was spoiled.
Okay.
This is what I'm saying, where people are like, look, birth order doesn't actually matter. For some people, are like, it didn't make a difference whatsoever. But to others, are like, no, we definitely felt it as middle children. And we are better off now as a result because we've learned to be more agreeable and to handle conflict and not, lose it because we were kind of always in the middle.
Yeah, I definitely think there's some difference between first child and youngest child in terms of it's all the hoopla and pomp and circumstance of a first child versus the second kid has some benefits too with maybe things you do, your brother or sister got in trouble for, like you don't get in as much trouble because it's already been done.
But are they like maybe in the middle? They're just like they're taking it all in because they are an older sibling and a younger sibling. So they're like really the most well-rounded. So this study makes sense.
They've got unique perspective. I think there might be something to it here. Anyways, you tell us what you think. Does birth order matter? Or is this overblown? You can drop us a text at 981-981.
This is after a study came out talking about middle children. You know, usually we feel bad for the middle child who gets ignored. This study is saying don't worry about them. They're actually better off than their older siblings or younger siblings. They're more honest, they're more humble, and more agreeable than those siblings.
Yeah, and we're looking to hear from you, siblings. Maybe you're a middle child. Maybe you've lived this and you have a thought on it. Kathy in Lindsay, what do you think?
I think it's overblown. I'm a middle child, and there was nothing different.
Really?
Like, there were no favorites. There was no, like, the younger ones weren't spoiled or anything like that. Everything was pretty much even keel.
Wow, and so like your older sibling, you don't think they got more attention, more hoopla over that? Like I know, for example, my older brother.
Well, they might have because I wasn't there, right? So I can't say.
Right, but I mean, like for example, my older brother has an album that has like a lock of his first hair from his first haircut, and like a commemorative dollar bill from the year he was born. I'm like, hey, where's my first lock of hair? Like, there's evidence that the first child was treated differently.
It's probably true, but like. Because there were so many of us, there were seven kids.
Whoa.
So,
okay.
Yeah.
That needs its own
so
study.
it's like,
Well, Kathy, thank you for sharing your perspective. We appreciate you.
No worries. You guys have a great day.
Okay.
Kathy, there you go. It's overblown. Everyone was treated the same.
Nothing to it. Okay, well, you can keep your thoughts coming at 981-981. Interesting study here that we talked about on the show that says middle children wind up being more honest, humble, and agreeable than their siblings. This is a stark rebranding or a contrast from, the typical middle child syndrome that people always talk about.
Yeah, you're caught in the middle, that you don't get the attention from your parents because the older, they're the firstborn, so they just have special treatment, and then the youngest is spoiled. So where does that leave the middle child?
I say it's high time we start looking at middle children differently. So we want to know, does birth order matter? Do you think this is overblown? What are your thoughts on this? Let's go to Margot in Toronto.
I think it's quite accurate. And I am one of 4 children, all girls. And my eldest sister got everything. And my youngest baby sister got everything.
Wow. So there is something about being the middle child. And do you believe that you're better off as a result than your siblings?
I think so, because I love my older sister, but she has a real sense of entitlement. I mean, she's 76. She still feels the world owes her a living.
Wow. That's a firsthand account of that. Thank you so much. We got to fly, Margot, but appreciate the call.
Thank you. Have a good day, guys.
Also getting a lot of texts to 981-981, hearing from the middle children or the siblings of middle children. My middle sister is 100% the opposite of all those positive traits that the study says.
Whoa.
And she's 40 now. Nothing has changed. However, it would just be her as an individual and not due to birth order. So you obviously think it's overblown.
Yeah, another person texting in saying birth order 1,000% matters, but it's dependent on the number of kids, gender gaps between them. Yes, there's a lot of factors like Stef was talking about as well.
I personally think the youngest, they're the best.
No
in my
bias.
very biased opinion, you're the youngest, I'm the youngest, Stef, you're the youngest.
Oh, we're all the youngest?
Yeah.
Right. What does that say about us?
I don't know. We need a study.
Yeah, seriously.
Who's the middle child in this room, though?
Oh,
that's me.
Definitely.
It's you, technically.
It's me, technically.
The most
Hold
humble
on.
of them all.
Pooj, you're the oldest in this room?
Stop.
Yeah.
Whoa,
And you're the baby.
Pooj is a big sis? Oh.
That means mommy and daddy were very happy when I
don't know
came around.
Why Pooj would have been babysitting you and me?
Well, I don't know
about that one. I do not know about that one.
The Pooja and Gurdeep podcast.
From 98.1 CHFI.
We have to talk about the huge news that dropped yesterday that I know there's rarely ever unanimity when it comes to political issues, but I think almost everyone on this side of the border breathed a sigh of relief when they got the breaking news alert on their phone around 4:30 yesterday that the tariffs between Canada and the U.S. both ways are on hold for 30 days.
So did the California wine go back on the shelf? Because Pooja was really worried about it.
Yeah, Pooja they love their Cab Sauv from California. I don't know if Paul was apparently going to go load up. I don't know. I don't know what happened with that.
But I heard like it was mid-afternoon. They were taking it off the shelf already. So I wonder if they just put it back on.
So the tariffs were supposed to kick in like this morning at midnight. Now they're on hold for 30 days both ways. I should add, same thing happened with Mexico. They came to an agreement earlier in the day, which kind of my spidey senses were going off a bit when that was announced. I go, okay. The weird thing was Trudeau has been trying to get in touch with Trump since his inauguration, and Trump has basically been ghosting him. Yesterday was the first time they talked, and they managed to work this out. Does this not feel to you like... My thought is I never really felt or believed that the tariffs were going to kick in. It all felt like posturing, like leveraging for something else.
It felt like high school a little bit. I was like, it's the girl that you're trying to call and she doesn't want to answer the phone and she's just ignoring you because she has her own plans. You're like, wait, talk to me.
You start making threats like, if you don't pick up the phone, I'm going to, and then nothing ever comes of it.
Yeah.
And like, I don't think, and I hope I'm right with this, I don't think we're ever going to see these tariffs with this Trump administration. 30 days is a long time. If they've already come to an agreement on, several billion that's going to be spent on border security. Canada's agreed to fight organized crime, drug cartels.
Exactly what Mexico did as well, right? Like
basically the same deal.
Plan, yeah.
And Canada's going to install something called a fentanyl czar.
Right.
I don't know if this person wears a crown or a robe or what exactly is going to happen
here.
But
my question was, isn't everything coming from the States, right? Like, so why are we putting these in? Why aren't they putting it in? It's coming from the States.
There's definitely more drug activity that's originating in Mexico than in Canada.
Right.
I don't know how much is actually going over from Canada to the U.S., but I do feel now that the dialogue is open, they're going to figure something out over the next 30 days. I don't think we're ever actually going to see these tariffs because when you add it all up, if Canada, if Mexico and China put in tariffs against the U.S., they're going to feel that. Like nobody would win. This would be a net loss for everybody.
And I think too, just listening to and reading all the comments about people already saying like they're going to kind of boycott American goods and all that sort of stuff. I'm hoping that kind of still sticks. I was sort of like that, not like extreme, but I'd always make sure that I shopped local and I looked for Canadian goods because we have everything here. Like we have dairy farmers and we have our meat and we have great local shops that we can buy stuff from. And I don't want an American vehicle. So I think I'm going to make more of an effort to make sure that everything I buy, because when I go to the grocery store, I would buy what I needed. But I think now I'm going to make more of an effort to make sure.
Take a look at the label.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you said that because I'm looking at this with rose-colored glasses. But my hope is the net effect of this is going to be positive because A, we're never going to see these tariffs. And B, if we've now all consciously, we were in the mode to be like, okay, I'm going to start looking now. I'm going to buy Canadian, buy local, stay in that mode. Yeah. This could actually, down the road, wind up being a really positive thing for this country. So I know I am, you are. Yep. We're going to make an effort to keep buying local and buying Canadian, and hopefully you are too.
From CHFI Studios,
it's the Pooja and Gurdeep podcast.
It's National Compliment Day, and instead of just heaping praise on one another, we thought we would enlist the help of our friends at ChatGPT. This is the artificial intelligence website or app where you can ask it really anything, and it'll give you a bunch of great responses.
So we asked it to give compliments for one another. And this is the thing about AI is it learns you. It starts to get to know you over time. And, we've been using ChatGPT now for, a year? Mm-hmm. We've talked about the show. Like ChatGPT, when I put something in, will say your co-host Gurdeep. It knows you.
It assumes, because I think most of the stuff I use it for is show content. So it knows now when I ask it a question, it'll say, oh, this would be great for the show, even though I didn't specifically state that. It's pretty wild.
So I thought on this compliment day, instead of me giving you a compliment and you giving me a compliment, because there's just so many, you're great. Why wouldn't we get ChatGPT to see if they could give you a compliment on my behalf, knowing our relationship, our brother-sister relationship?
Now, I will say, I don't know what you put in for the prompt. I did ask for compliments for my friend Pooja with a dash of salt.
Oh, okay. Interesting. I did the same thing.
Oh, good. Yeah. Okay. I'm glad we're on the same level.
Not those words, but yes.
Okay.
Okay. Let's see what ChatGPT came up with. Here's one for you. Your storytelling is incredible, Gurdeep. You can make even the dullest topic sound halfway interesting. That's a real skill.
Oh, I can't tell if that's... I'm parsing and I still don't know how to feel about that one. Okay.
Thanks, ChatGPT.
Well, how about this? Pooch, you have such a talent for looking so busy all the time, even when you're doing absolutely nothing. It's inspiring, really.
How does it know me so well? Gurdeep, your quick wit it's impressive. Even when your jokes miss the mark, your confidence in them is what really matters. It's what really sells it.
Yeah, that one's true. Yeah, that one's actually true.
Yeah.
If you believe it. How about this? Hey, Pooch, you always have such a unique perspective on things. It's like you're living in a completely different reality from the rest of us, and I respect that.
It's Pooch's world.
We just live in it.
You're just living in it. And finally, Gurdeep, your positivity is just something else. How do you stay so cheerful when everything else is falling apart in your life? Teach me that trick.
All right, that one hits a little too close to home. All right, I'll finish up on this one then. Pooch, you are so selfless. You're constantly doubting yourself just so the rest of us can feel more confident in comparison.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
ChatGPT, you know me well.
Compliment day, I think we might have missed the mark.
From CHFI Studios,
It's the Pooja and Gurdeep podcast.
All right, so Steph is under the weather this morning. Is it karma? I don't know. She dropped probably the lamest and worst excuse I have ever come across. So if you missed it, remember the day this week it was super windy?
Yes.
It's kind of been the whole week, actually. But
I think there were like wind gusts up to like 70, 80 kilometers an hour. It was really windy.
Crazy windy.
Yeah.
So Steph's boyfriend was coming home from work, and they were chatting on the phone. Steph was already home. And Steph's like, oh, by the way, when you get home, just leave your car in the driveway. We're gonna go out for dinner. I couldn't cook dinner. It was too windy. And I'm like, were you barbecuing? Were you cooking outside? And she's like, no, I just cooking on the stove, but couldn't do it. It was too windy.
Like, it doesn't make any sense. I don't understand the correlation at all. Like, oh, it's so windy. I don't know about you, but I'm not cooking today.
Like, for an excuse to be good, it's got to be plausible. It's got to be rooted in some truth. It's got to be...
Yeah.
It's like not valid.
You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of every like 80s or 90s movie we watch where like the excuse of everything was like, I got to wash my hair. You know, like, I can't go on the date with you. I got to wash my hair. Look,
how long does that take women?
It does take, in fairness, it does take a long time to wash it and blow dry it and style. It takes a while. But you don't, like, worry about never seeing anyone ever again. Or there's no room for another date because you're washing your hair.
Right. That was the way they let each other down in the 80s.
Yeah.
Gentle, like... That's the way of saying I'm not interested.
Yeah.
That was Lisa Turtle to Screech.
It's so true.
I got to wash my hair.
Yeah. I think I'm just way too honest for this. I'll just be like, I don't want to do it.
I would rather hear I don't want to do it than it's too windy. I couldn't cook for you.
Yeah.
Like,
but
what?
people do come up with some lame excuses. You've probably been on the other end of it too, where you're like, that's what you came up with?
I like to think I put effort in I'm not saying I don't use excuses. I absolutely use them, probably at least once a week. Mm-hmm. But I like to think I put some effort into them. Most of them tie back to my dog.
Right.
Like, I can't make it. My dog.
Period. They're like, what about your dog?
Full stop.
She
requires some love and cuddles, and I'm her dad.
Surely you can maybe top Steph's story. Maybe hers might be the top
worst,
of it,
which makes it the best. Yeah.
Yes, the lamest. Let's go with that. So, what's the lamest excuse that you've ever used? We want to hear from you.
And maybe it's one that you heard as well. Maybe it was used on you.
True.
Or maybe the laziest excuse you've ever come across. How about that?
The Pooja and Gurdeep podcast.
This is the Pooja and Gurdeep podcast.
What is the lamest excuse you've ever come across? Inspired by our friend Steph, who told her boyfriend she couldn't make dinner this week because it was, quote, too windy.
I mean,
they were not cooking outside. She wasn't going to cook inside on the stove.
I don't get it. I don't see the correlation, but hey, that's the excuse she came up with. I would have preferred maybe just like, I don't want to cook dinner. I feel like that's a fair excuse.
I think she just wanted to go out for sushi, which is what they ended up doing. I would have just led with that.
Yeah. But you know what? Maybe you've been on the other end of it. Maybe you're the one giving out the lame excuses. We want to know what that is for you. Jan from Whitby, what's the lamest excuse you've ever heard?
Pooja, I'm just sticking up for Steph because she's probably got an overhead fan over her stove, and when it's windy, all you hear is bing, 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 bing.
She did say the hood fan was making some noise. Steph. She did mention that the hood fan or whatever was making a lot of noise.
I'm sticking up for her. That's what it is.
And you know what? When you hear those noises, you are incapacitated. Suddenly your arms don't work, your legs don't work. Very difficult, Jan.
Right.
Yeah,
I turn the burners on. No way.
I don't know that it's enough to prevent her from cooking dinner, but okay, it adds a little credence to it. Jan is on Team Steph. Thank you for the call, Jan.
Okay, bye. Have a good day.
You too.
Okay, there we go. Did not expect much support for Steph's excuse, but
What's the lamest excuse you've ever heard? Maybe you're the one giving out this excuse. Maybe you're the one on the receiving end.
put a little effort into it, people.
Yeah, producer Stef told her boyfriend that she couldn't cook dinner because it was too windy outside.
That might be the worst excuse I've heard of all time because it's like you're not even trying to make it believable.
No, I mean, yours was pretty bad too. You just go, I have a dog,
Yeah.
period.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes there'll be more, but most of my excuses originate with that. Like, I can't come, I'm dog.
That's it. I mean, whatever it might be, we want to know what's the lamest excuse you've ever heard. Let's go to Nicole in Acton. What's it for you?
So my husband is a teacher, and anytime he doesn't want to do something, he says he has to write report cards.
Even if it's like, I don't know, August?
Yeah, even if it's like Christmas.
He's like, I got to get ahead of it. I mean, this involves research.
That's
it involves.
Yeah. He's like, I'm so sorry, I have to write reports. And you're like, it's June. They're done.
It's like September the 8th. You're like, what are you writing report cards on? It's been 2 days of school.
Yeah, that's his go-to, and everyone knows it.
That is hilarious.
By the way, I can't do the rest of the show. I got to write reports. I got to go. I don't know what the report's on, but
That is really good. This inspired by producer Stef, who did not cook dinner for her boyfriend because it was, quote, too windy.
yeah, gets so windy and then your arms stop working. It's a thing.
We did have a caller who defended her saying maybe the hood fan was making a lot of noise, which again,
Yes.
don't know why that prevents you,
my
but
legs
sure.
just don't take me over to the stove when it's windy. Whatever it might be, what is it for you, Gary in Uxbridge?
I had a girlfriend that was fairly lazy,
Okay.
and I got her a job. She didn't want to get a job, so I got her a job, like literally 4 bus stops from the apartment building that she lived in. The bus stopped two buildings away from her work. And 3 days in, we got like 2 inches of snow. And I went and I phoned her in the evening. I said, so how was work? She goes, oh, I couldn't go to work. I got snowed in. And then she didn't even go and pick up the check for the 2 days that she worked.
Oh, that was it? 2 days and done?
Yeah, 2 days and done.
She got snowed in, Gurdeep.
But forever?
Yeah, forever. Trust me, I didn't stay with her long.
I think that's the best one.
Well, I mean, it's hard to have a relationship when you're snowed in all the time. You can never go anywhere.
I just called to check on her all these years later. She's still snowed in. She has not left. She's become a recluse.
Thanks for all of your excuses, all of the calls and texts.
From CHFI Studios,
It's the Pooja and Gurdeep podcast.
yo, you got a problem? Pooja and Gurdeep will solve it. Advice, baby.
It's free advice. Don't know that we'll actually solve anything, but we got a text on the text line at 981. This is an open thing, by the way. If you ever have a situation, you can text 981-981 at any time. Just title it Dear P&G.
Mm-hmm.
We go through them, and occasionally we get one we really like, and
Like
we
this
bring it
one.
to the show. Yeah.
Okay, and of course it's anonymous. From Whitby, though. Whoever this is, they live in Whitby. Okay, here it is. Dear P&G, am I justified in wanting revenge on my husband after what he pulled? Oh, you start anything with that. You know, I got the popcorn out.
Okay.
We went to my coworker's housewarming, which had been in our calendar for weeks.
Mm-hmm.
We arrived. He said hello to the host, my colleague. And as I was taking off my shoes and coat in her new condo, he surveyed the room and then said, I'll be right back. I have to run a couple of quick errands. See you in a bit?
Huh?
That's what she said. Huh? I had no idea which errands he was referring to, but I pretended to know what he was talking about. He left and did not return for 2 hours.
No.
Basically, as the party was wrapping up, I was so embarrassed, especially since my coworker kept asking about him and I kept saying, any minute. Turns out he found a nearby pub. He was grabbing wings and watching the Eagles game. Just me, or is this unacceptable behavior? Whoa.
Wow. So I'm guessing this was this past Sunday, the Eagles Commanders game. It was,
Yes.
and now great, it's the NFC Championship. I get it. It's a big game.
Are you justifying it?
No, I am not. Listen, normally in these matters, like I generally tend to side with the dude, and there's probably some personal bias in there.
Yeah, because you've probably been in a similar situation. You're like, oh, I've done that.
I live in the doghouse. I spend more time in the doghouse than in the regular house. But let me tell you, I have never pulled something like this. I am nervous for this guy and the trouble he's going to be in. What the heck was he thinking? There's such to keep it football, there's such an egregious flag on this play because this is a premeditated infraction. Like,
premeditated? What do you mean?
Well, okay, hold on. They're going to this person's house, this colleague who he's never met in this neighborhood. He took the time to research a wing joint, to like look up a pub, make sure they'd be playing the game. So he probably placed a call to be like, hey, you got the Eagles
How do you
came
know
on.
that? What if he just saw it on his way
These
in?
were his errands, and he knew he was doing something wrong because he dressed it up as errands.
Was he also wearing an Eagles jersey? I'm wondering. Should that have given it away?
If he was wearing an Eagles jersey, then there is some responsibility on Anonymous as well.
Can I just defend him for a second? Let me just defend him for just a quick second.
Okay, this should be interesting.
Maybe it was one of those things where he was like, look, you're fine. He surveyed the room, she said. You're fine. These are your colleagues. You work with them. Like, it's okay if I leave you. It's not like you're going to be there by yourself. Like, you know people. These are your people. I don't know them. I'll be back. And
but you're agreeing to go.
And then he stumbled, and then a chicken wing landed in his mouth. And next thing you knew, they were delicious. And he was ordering a bunch.
Okay, well, let me flip this and put it on. What if it was you going to your work colleague's thing, and Paul was coming with you, and Paul pulled that?
No way.
That's what I'm saying. Like, this woman has the biggest free pass to bail on when I don't know what he does, but when he makes her go to something.
Yeah.
She needs to pull this. This is probably why I'm
She's
single.
like, I gotta go watch The Bachelor.
My inclination is revenge, which probably is not the best.
No, she asked, am I justified in wanting revenge? Yes, you are.
Yes, you absolutely. Whether you take it or not, but you are absolutely justified in like this might be the most egregious offense in what's the segment called? Dear P&G history.
What if he brought her some of the wings that he didn't finish in a little doggy bag? Would that have made it better?
Absolutely not. For him to roll, I would not even be enjoying the football game in the wings because with every bite, with every passing down, I would be just thinking, I'm in more and more trouble. I am so screwed.
You know what? Maybe when you're married, and I've been married for over a decade, this idea of like getting in trouble and, you're just kind of used to it. I think my husband's just so used to it. I don't think he really would care as he's biting into that chicken wing.
Is it weird that this story made me crave wings?
I thought you were going to say marriage.
The Pooja and Gurdeep podcast.
From 98.1 CHFI.
An anonymous person from Whitby wrote us to say they took their husband to a colleague's housewarming party. And the husband got there, surveyed the room, and then as they were greeting the host, I got to run some errands, I'll be right back. So the anonymous person was like, what are you doing? And the person proceeded to leave for 2 hours.
Oh, no.
Come back right when the party was ending. And she finds out that he had found a nearby pub, was grabbing wings and watching the Eagles Commanders NFC Championship, and just was super casual about it. Like it's no big deal. And this person's furious. They're saying, just me, is this unacceptable behavior? And is it okay that I want revenge on my husband?
Yeah. And we're giving our advice, but you're giving your advice at 981-981. Here, all caps. There's no name here, but this is what we were texted in all caps. Not acceptable. Doghouse for sure.
Yeah.
I feel like they were yelling it.
I'm so nervous for this person, for the trouble they're going to get in, because this is such an egregious infraction with premeditation. Like, this is just all kinds of wrong. However, someone named Mitchell texting in saying, I'm 100% justifying this behavior. Sounds like Mitchell likes the football game and wings.
Yeah, I think so. Another text here. He surveyed the room, saw no TV, decided he didn't see anyone interesting, and decided football rules. Football. Oh, you think that's what the surveying was about?
If that's the case, I wish he was just more honest. I wish he came in like the Terminator, surveyed the room, and then just goes, football rules, and walked out. That would have been amazing. And someone else also saying, yes, he surveyed the room to see if the game was on. It wasn't, so he bailed.
Okay. Sarah,
but you still can't do that.
No.
Just because they're not playing the game at a housewarming.
But you also, in that moment, can't tell your partner that's why you're leaving.
No, you can't.
So you got to make up errands.
Do you think you could pull asking the host, like, hey, great to be here. Nice to meet you. Hey, do you mind throwing the game on?
I mean, I think that's better than leaving for 2 hours.
Especially because it's a big game. It was the NFC Championship. It's not just like a random Sunday.
And when you come back and you still have wing sauce on your face, everyone knows. Everyone knows you weren't running errands.
Oh, man.
Sarah from Newmarket writing, if I had been the one to bring my guy to this party, it's because he's my safe person if I needed out. It's strategy. My coworkers might be my people, but sometimes I get to things going, why? Also, I would never have let him leave.
Right.
No, you don't have errands to run. Laugh out loud. If he didn't want to be there, he could have told her ahead of time. I'd be pretty mad.
That seems like a pretty accurate response. Bob from Thorold texting in to say, it depends. What kind of wings were they? It's true. Listen, if it was a pound of honey garlic and a pound of suicide, I do have some sympathy for him.
I think Joe is on the same page here. Joe from Barrie saying, can we get this guy's contact info just to congratulate him in person for committing the ultimate crime and getting away with it?
Joe, we don't know if he got away with it. We don't know if we're ever going to hear from this guy. We don't know if he's going to make it to Super Bowl.
And she is plotting her revenge. Don't forget.
From CHFI Studios,
It's the Pooja and Gurdeep podcast.
Oh, it's always a very exciting concert season in Toronto. All the big artists come to Toronto. We are very, very lucky to be living in this city. Billy Joel is coming through Toronto. Looks like one night only for now. I don't know if he's going to add anything, but this is Saturday, March 15th. So you've actually seen Billy Joel in concert. I have not. Mm-hmm. When did you see him? Where was it? What was it like?
So I went to go see him in New York City at Madison Square Garden, and he had this whole thing where he was like, as long as I sell out a show, I will keep doing Madison Square Garden like indefinitely. Like the first time I don't sell out, I'm done.
Oh, wow.
And of course,
Putting
he
it
went
on the
on.
fans.
Yes, he went on to do a huge run because he's Billy Joel, and there's that many people want to see him.
That's wild because MSG, that's like a regular arena in terms of the capacity, about 20,000, maybe 22,000. He's playing the Rogers Center, so we're talking 50,000 plus when he comes through Toronto.
Yeah, and he has such a great catalog of music. It's one of those things where you think you know his songs, and then you go and you're like, oh yeah, that song. Oh yeah, that one. Oh, that one. And I was really surprised. And maybe it's, he's a New Yorker, like maybe that's why, but I was surprised at the demographics of that concert. I was expecting people my age or older.
Right. Was it not?
No, there were a lot of young people there. And I was like, what? And I actually asked someone, I'm like, so you're a fan of Billy Joel? And they were like, yeah, huge. I was like, really? How did you get into his music? And they're like, my parents.
Okay.
So there are a lot of younger people there because their parents listen.
I love when kids get into music that their parents like play for them, because I feel like that could go one of two ways. Like kids could roll their eyes and be like,
yeah,
not listen to your generation. Like, sorry, your stuff's not cool. I see it with my brother and my eldest nephew as well. Like he's gotten into Oasis and a lot of the great bands that like my brother. In fact, they're flying to Ireland this summer to go see with his eldest son.
Oh, wow.
And like they went to Arctic Monkeys together. It was such a proud moment for my brother to go to a concert with his son and like enjoy the same music.
Bonding experience.
Yeah, that makes me want to have a kid. Like, how cool would it be in 25 years from now to like go to a show with my kid and him or her actually like the music?
You're gonna take them to Backstreet Boys? That's your dream?
You best believe it.
Thanks for listening to the Pooja and Gurdeep podcast.
Listen to Pooja and Gurdeep live weekday mornings from 5 to 9.
Only on 98.1 CHFI.
Toronto's perfect music mix.